Have you ever noticed how some people seem to command the room without saying a single word? They don't yell, they don't plead, they just step back, and somehow everything shifts. The vibe changes. People start scrambling, chasing, wondering what's going on. Now, picture yourself doing that. Instead of jumping to react to every little thing, you choose silence. You pull back instead of blowing up. What do you think would happen? That's the secret sauce right there. When you stop being at everyone's beck and call, emotionally, physically, mentally, the world around you starts to wobble. Why? Because people are used to steering you through your reactions, your impulses, your predictability. But the moment you withdraw, the whole game flips. Suddenly, those who thought they had you figured out realize they don't know you at all. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." Let that sink in. When you make yourself less accessible, who gets rattled? Who starts poking at you, trying to get a reaction? That says way more about them than it does about you. It shows how much they've been pulling your strings without you even noticing. You keep bending over backward to please, to keep the peace, to hold on to people who, let's be honest, were never really there for you. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you fire off a quick response or let your emotions spill out, you're giving away a piece of yourself. And by the end of the day, what's left? Exhaustion. Frustration. A hollow feeling you can't quite name. That's because you've been too available to people who don't deserve even a second of your silence. This video isn't about shutting out the world. It's about choosing you. It's about what Jung called individuation, becoming whole, real, and complete. And that starts when you realize silence can hit harder than 1,000 arguments. Withdrawing, when it's intentional and not just running away, is a power move. So let me ask you, straight up, how long are you going to let other people's emotions yank you around? How long will you keep dancing to their tune every time they prod your sore spots? Maybe it's time to cut those strings, to step back, to become a mystery. Because when you stop being everyone's go-to, everything changes. You've been taught your whole life to always be there, to reply fast, to please, to say yes even when every fiber of your being screams no. From childhood, you've been wired to think your worth comes from how available you are. But here's a truth bomb. That kind of availability isn't a virtue. It's a cage. As long as you believe you have to be on all the time, you're going to be drained, manipulated, and tossed aside the moment you're no longer useful. Why? Because being always available makes you predictable, and anything predictable becomes a tool. People start treating you like an emotional vending machine. They push a button for attention, validation, or relief, then walk away when they've got what they want. But you don't see it because you're stuck in this illusion that being there for everyone will make them be there for you. Spoiler, it doesn't work like that. Carl Jung talked about the persona, this mask we wear to be liked, loved, accepted. That mask is why you stay overly available. You say it's fine when you're drowning. You answer texts right away even when you're wiped out. You explain yourself, justify yourself, defend yourself like you owe the world something. But the truth is, the more you center yourself in other people's stories, the more you vanish from your own. Being available 24/7 is a sneaky way of abandoning yourself. It's a dressed-up version of chasing approval, dodging rejection, trying to control how others see you. But that control comes at a cost. Your peace, your energy, which, by the way, isn't infinite. It's limited, very limited. The people who expect you to always be on don't actually want you. They want what you give them: validation, comfort, a distraction. But when you switch things up, when you set a boundary, when you refuse to react, they lose it. They get mad, call you distant, say you've changed. That's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you've stopped being their emotional crutch. Here's the kicker. The more available you are, the less they value you. What's too easy to get becomes disposable. No one respects what they don't have to earn. No one treasures what's always there. So pause for a second. Think, who actually deserves your time, your attention, your presence, or more importantly, who deserves your absence? But before you answer, we need to dig into why you react so much. Why do you give in so easily? What's driving this almost automatic need to respond, to please, to fix things? The answer lies in what Carl Jung called psychic energy, and that's what we're diving into next. Because your energy is all you've got, and if you don't learn to protect it, someone's going to use it against you. Stay with me, this is just the start. If you're still here, you're ready to go deeper. Let's talk about why you feel so drained all the time and how your energy is slipping away without you even noticing. Carl Jung saw the human psyche as an energy system. Every thought, every emotion, every action you take, it all burns a piece of your psychic energy. The question is, are you deciding where that energy goes, or is the world choosing for you? Every time you snap back at a jab, defend yourself against pointless criticism, or get sucked into a petty argument, you're leaking energy. When you try to please people who don't care, when you react just to prove you're right, when you waste time explaining yourself to someone who's already checked out, you're pouring your inner strength into a black hole. And Jung was crystal clear on this. What you resist persists. The more you react, the more you tie yourself to those draining cycles. People who are always exhausted aren't weak, they're just misdirecting their energy. And when you're running on empty, you're vulnerable. That's when manipulative people, opportunists, or emotionally needy folks swoop in. They can smell it. They know you don't guard your energy, that you'll react to anything, that you're always trying to fix the world, and they use that. Jung said a healthy psyche knows how to keep energy inside the system. That means saying no without feeling like a jerk, staying quiet without thinking you're chickening out, watching before you jump in. Real power isn't in reacting, it's in choosing when and how to act. And you can only do that when you know yourself well enough to spot your own triggers. So, start paying attention to what sets you off. What makes you lose your cool automatically? Those are the exact spots where your energy's leaking, and that's where you need to do the work. Not to become cold or shut off, but to be picky about where your energy goes, to be in charge of yourself. And here's where Jung drops a bombshell. When you hold on to your energy, you start breaking the projections other people slap onto you. That's when things get messy. Because now we're stepping into the shady world of silent manipulation. You might think you're in control, that your reactions are your choice. But the truth is darker. Most of your emotional responses are wired into you, and people who get that can play you like a fiddle. Opportunistic folks don't need to yell or push. They just poke at the buttons you've left wide open, and you jump. Jung called this projection. People dump their own baggage onto you, stuff they can't face in themselves. But there's a flip side most don't notice. When you're too emotionally available, you become a blank slate for those projections. That friend who only hits you up when their life's a mess? That partner who leans on you to fix everything? That person who sings your praises only when you're useful? It's not random. They're not connecting with you. They're hooked on the role you play for them. Your unavailability is a weapon because it makes people deal with their own mess. The silence you bring shows them the noise they're trying to avoid. And that's when the claws come out. Criticism, drama, accusations. Not because you're wrong, but because you've stopped being their mirror. Jung said we don't grow by chasing light. We grow by facing the dark. When you pull back, when you stop feeding their cycle, their shadow starts to show. And that's too much for people who've been using you as a crutch. But here's the real question. Are you ready to handle the fallout? To be misunderstood, called out, or even attacked for putting yourself first? Are you ready for the quiet that comes after you break those ties? Because it's in that quiet where something new starts to grow, a kind of power you've never tapped into before. That's what we're diving into next. Stay tuned. All right, we're diving deeper now. You've started to see how your availability makes you a target, how your reactions keep you stuck in cycles that drain you. But what happens when you flip the script? When you choose silence over shouting, presence over pleasing? Let's talk about the power of silence. Not the weak, passive kind, but the kind that's sharp, intentional, and shakes things up. This is where you start to rewrite the rules of how the world deals with you. Carl Jung saw silence not as emptiness, but as a space for transformation. When you stop reacting to every jab, every demand, every poke at your emotions, you create room to actually see what's going on. You start noticing patterns, how people push your buttons, how they lean on you to fill their gaps, how you've been playing along without even realizing it. Silence isn't just about biting your tongue. It's about stepping back and observing with crystal clear focus. And that kind of clarity, it's dangerous to anyone who thrives on your chaos. Have you ever seen someone lose it when you don't respond? When you don't explain yourself or just vanish from their drama? They don't miss you. They're freaking out because your silence takes away their grip on you. When you're talking, arguing, reacting, you're still in their game. But when you go quiet, you change the rules. You pull the rug out from under their control. True silence isn't absence. It's mastery. It's you refusing to get dragged into someone else's emotional mess. It's choosing not to waste your energy on fights that don't matter. Jung said individuation, becoming your true, whole self, requires this kind of distance. You can't hear your own voice if you're always drowned out by the world's noise. Silence lets you listen to yourself, to figure out who you are when you're not jumping through hoops for everyone else. But let's be real. Silence comes with a cost. It'll push away people who only liked you for what you did for them. It'll make you seem distant, cold, even arrogant to those who never bothered to see past their own projections. They'll say you've changed, but what they mean is you're no longer playing their game. And that's okay, because not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. Here's the hard truth. The more you grow, the pickier you get with your words, your time, your energy. You start to see every sentence, every response as an investment. Not everyone's worth it. Sometimes silence isn't just a choice, it's a statement. It says, I don't need to prove myself to you. It's the language of someone who's done explaining, done justifying. And yeah, that silence makes people uncomfortable. It forces them to sit with their own thoughts, their own noise, their own insecurities. Your quiet becomes a mirror they don't want to look into. But the real magic of silence isn't just how it shakes up others, it's what it does for you. When you stop leaking energy on pointless battles, you start building something inside. You reconnect with parts of yourself you've ignored while you were busy being everyone's emotional fix. That's where Jung's idea of psychic energy comes back in. Every time you choose silence over a knee-jerk reaction, you're saving that energy. You're banking it for something that actually matters, like your peace, your growth, your truth. This isn't about becoming untouchable or shutting everyone out. It's about being selective. It's about deciding who gets your time, your attention, your heart, and more importantly, who doesn't. Because the people who expect you to be on all the time, they don't want you. They want what you provide. The moment you stop being their emotional vending machine, they'll push back. They'll call you selfish, weird, distant. But that's not about you. It's about them losing their leverage. So how do you start? Small steps. Don't answer that text right away. Take a breath before you react to a jab. Walk away from a pointless argument. Turn off your phone for an hour without guilt. Say, not today, or I'm not getting into this. And here's the big one. Stop explaining yourself. You don't owe anyone a rundown of why you're stepping back. Your silence speaks for itself. For a lot of people, that's going to feel like a slap in the face because you're taking away their power to keep you in their story. You're no longer the helpful, always there, predictable version they relied on. Jung understood that individuation, this journey to your true self, often means going it alone for a bit. Not because you're running from the world, but because you're finding your center. It's a kind of sacred isolation where you tune out the noise and tune into you. And yeah, it's uncomfortable at first. You'll feel guilty. You'll second-guess yourself, wondering if you're being too harsh or pushing people away. But that discomfort, it's just the old you, the one conditioned to put everyone else first, fighting to stay in control. Push through it. If you're ready to take this seriously, check out my book, Beyond the Shadow, linked in the pinned comment. It dives into Jung's core ideas and gives you practical tools to protect your energy, set boundaries, and reconnect with who you really are. Because knowing this stuff in your head is one thing, putting it into action is what changes the game. Next up, we're going to explore what happens when you lean into this silence, this unavailability. It's not just about cutting out the noise, it's about learning to use your energy, to choose where it goes and where it never should. Get ready, because this is where you start taking back your power. We're at the point now where you're starting to see the power of stepping back, of choosing silence over chaos. But let's get real about what it takes to actually live this way. Being unavailable isn't just about shutting people out. It's about being intentional with your energy, your time, your soul. It's about taking control of what you give to the world, and more importantly, what you don't. This is where you stop being a reactor and start being a creator. Let's dive into how you make that shift and why it's the foundation of true self-determination. Carl Jung talked about psychic energy as this finite resource we all have. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you jump into a pointless argument or let someone guilt you into over-explaining, you're burning through that energy. And when it's gone, you're left empty, tired, frustrated, wondering why you feel so lost. The world's taught you to treat your energy like it's endless, but it's not. It's precious. And if you don't start guarding it, someone else will keep spending it for you. Conscious unavailability is about drawing a line in the sand. It's not being cold or arrogant. It's saying, my peace, my time, my energy are mine to give, not yours to take. It starts with small, deliberate choices. Don't reply to that message the second it comes in. Let it sit. Don't feel pressured to fix someone's drama just because they're dumping it on you. Say, I'm not available for this right now. Or better yet, say nothing at all. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting yourself. That's the first rule of reclaiming your power. You don't have to justify your boundaries. This is hard at first because you've been conditioned to feel guilty for putting yourself first. Since you were a kid, you've been told that being good means being there for everyone. Always. But that's a trap. It's what keeps you tethered to people who don't value you, to situations that drain you. Jung called this the persona. The mask you wear to fit in, to be liked, to avoid rocking the boat. But every time you wear that mask, you're betraying yourself. You're saying other people's needs matter more than your own. And the price? Your peace, your clarity, your sense of self. When you start saying no, when you start pulling back, you'll notice something wild. The people who relied on your availability will push back hard. They'll try to guilt you, provoke you, make you feel like you're the problem. Why? Because you're no longer playing the role they cast you in. You're not their emotional fix anymore. Jung's idea of individuation, becoming your true whole self, requires this kind of break. It's not about cutting everyone off. It's about cutting the strings that tie you to their expectations. It's about choosing who gets access to you and who doesn't. And here's where it gets liberating. When you stop being available to everyone, you start being available to yourself. That's when you rediscover your own voice, your own needs, your own truth. It's like clearing out a cluttered room. You finally have space to breathe, to think, to be. But this takes discipline. It's not enough to just understand this stuff intellectually. You have to act on it. Stop answering every call. Stop jumping into every conflict. Stop feeling like you need to explain why you're stepping back. Your silence is your power. It's your way of saying, I'm done letting the world decide how I spend my energy. Jung said that true growth happens in isolation. Not the lonely, depressive kind, but a sacred kind. A time when you retreat from the noise to reconnect with yourself. This is where you rebuild your identity, not based on what others think of you, but on who you know you are. It's where you start to see the patterns in your life, the triggers, the habits, the people who've been pulling your strings. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. That's when you start to take back control. But let's be honest, this process isn't all sunshine. When you start setting boundaries, people will push back. They'll call you selfish, distant, or not yourself. They'll try to drag you back into their drama because your unavailability threatens their sense of control. And you'll feel it too. The guilt, the doubt, the fear that you're doing something wrong. That's just the old you, the one wired to please, fighting to stay in charge. Don't let it win. Those feelings are part of the deconstruction process. You've spent your life putting others first. It's natural that putting yourself first feels strange at first. Here's a practical way to start. Observe. Pay attention to who gets upset when you don't jump to their tune. Notice who tries to guilt you when you set a boundary. Those reactions aren't about you. They're about them losing their grip. And that's a sign you're on the right track. The people who truly value you will respect your space, even if they don't get it at first. The ones who don't, they were never in your corner anyway. If you're ready to dig deeper into this, my book, Beyond the Shadow, breaks down Jung's ideas with practical steps to protect your energy and set boundaries that stick. The link's in the pinned comment. Check it out if you're serious about this journey, because awareness without action is just another way to stay stuck. Next, we're going to talk about what happens when you lean into this unavailability, when you embrace the discomfort of being misunderstood. It's not just about protecting your energy. It's about what's born in the silence. It's about the freedom that comes when you stop living for others and start living for you. Stay with me. You're starting to get it now. Choosing silence, setting boundaries, and guarding your energy isn't just about saying no to others. It's about saying yes to yourself. But let's talk about what happens when you actually commit to this path. When you stop being everyone's emotional fix and start prioritizing your peace, something powerful begins to shift. It's not easy, and it's not always pretty, but it's where you find freedom. Let's dive into the rebirth that comes from embracing your unavailability and why it's worth the discomfort. When you first start pulling back, the silence feels heavy. It's like the air gets thick with questions. Did I go too far? Am I being too harsh? Will I lose everyone? You'll second-guess yourself, wondering if you're pushing away people who care. That's your old conditioning kicking in, the part of you that's been trained to believe your worth comes from being there for everyone else. But stick with it, because that silence isn't empty. It's alive. It's cleansing. It's where you start to heal. Carl Jung called this process individuation, becoming your true whole self. And he was clear, it often means walking alone for a while. Not because you're abandoning the world, but because you're returning to yourself. This isn't the loneliness of absence, it's the solitude of presence. It's you, showing up for you, maybe for the first time in a long time. In that quiet, you start to hear your own voice again. You start to see who you are when you're not bending over backward for everyone else. And that's when the real transformation begins. At first, the people around you might not know what to do with this new version of you. The ones who leaned on your availability will push back. They'll try to guilt you, provoke you, or make you feel like you're letting them down. Why? Because your silence exposes their reliance on you. It forces them to face their own stuff, their insecurities, their need for control, their emotional gaps. Jung said, we don't grow by chasing light, but by making the darkness conscious. Your unavailability holds up a mirror, and not everyone's ready to look. This is where you'll see who's really in your corner. The people who respect your boundaries, even if they don't get it, are the ones who value you for you, not just what you do for them. The ones who get mad, who try to pull you back into their drama, they were never here for you. They were here for the role you played. And letting go of that role, as tough as it feels, is liberating. You're not losing people. You're shedding weight. You're making room for connections that actually matter. But here's the thing. This process isn't just about cutting out the noise. It's about redirecting your energy to where it belongs. When you stop wasting it on pointless arguments, toxic dynamics, or people who don't deserve it, you free up space for what does. You start investing in yourself, your passions, your peace, your growth. That's when you stop being a reactor and become a creator. You're no longer just responding to the world's demands, you're shaping your own reality. Jung's idea of psychic energy comes back here. Every choice you make, every yes, every no, every moment of silence is an investment. When you're intentional about where that energy goes, you build a kind of inner strength that's unshakable. You walk into a room and people feel it, not because you're loud, but because you're grounded. You're not scattered, trying to please everyone. You're whole. And that wholeness, it's magnetic. It's rare. It's what makes you unforgettable. But let's not sugarcoat it. This path comes with pain. You'll feel the sting of being misunderstood, of people calling you cold or selfish. You'll face moments of loneliness when you realize some relationships only existed because you were playing a part. That's okay. That pain is part of the deal. It's the price of breaking free from a life where you were always on someone else's stage. The loneliness of the strong isn't a punishment. It's a gateway. It's where you learn to stand in your own truth, even when no one else gets it. So how do you navigate this? Start small, but be firm. Practice saying no without explaining why. Let messages sit unanswered if they don't deserve your energy. Walk away from conversations that feel like traps. And most importantly, give yourself permission to be unavailable without guilt. You don't owe the world your time. You don't owe anyone your emotional labor. The only person you owe is yourself, the version of you that's been waiting to show up fully. If you're ready to take this further, my book Beyond the Shadow dives deep into Jung's concepts with practical tools to help you protect your energy and build boundaries that last. The link's in the pinned comment. Grab it if you're serious about this journey. Because knowing this stuff is one thing, living it is what changes everything. In the final part, we're going to talk about what's born from this solitude, why the loneliness of the strong is the path to true freedom, and how it sets you up to live a life that's fully yours. Stay with me, because this is where it all comes together. Here we are, at the final stretch. You've seen how stepping back, guarding your energy, and embracing silence can shift everything. Now let's talk about what comes next. The rebirth that happens when you choose yourself, even if it means standing alone. This is where you step into true freedom, where you stop living for others and start building a life that's yours. It's not just about cutting out the noise, it's about discovering what grows in the quiet. Let's dive in. When you first start being unavailable, the silence feels like a void. It's unsettling. You'll wonder if you're pushing people away, if you're being too cold, if you're losing something valuable. That's your old wiring talking, the part of you that's been taught to measure your worth by how much you give to others. But keep going, because that silence isn't empty. It's a canvas. It's where you start to rebuild yourself, not as a reaction to the world, but as a creator of your own reality. Carl Jung called this individuation, the journey to becoming whole, authentic you. And it starts in this sacred solitude. This isn't the loneliness of being lost. It's the solitude of being found. In that quiet, you begin to hear your own voice again. You start to see who you are when you're not performing for anyone else. The anxiety, the need to please, the constant reacting, it all starts to fade. In its place comes clarity, peace, and a strength you didn't know you had. This is the loneliness of the strong, the kind that doesn't bend under pressure, that doesn't break to fit someone else's mold. It's you standing firm in your own truth. Jung said that individuation requires you to step away from the collective, to let go of the masks you've worn to fit in. That means letting go of relationships that only worked because you were playing a role. It means accepting that some people will walk away when you stop being their emotional crutch. And that's okay. You're not losing them. You're gaining yourself. The people who can't handle your boundaries, who get mad when you stop reacting, were never here for you. They were here for what you gave them. When you stop giving, they'll show their true colors. And that's a gift, because it shows you who deserves your energy and who doesn't. This solitude isn't about shutting out the world forever. It's about creating space to reconnect with your essence, to figure out what you want, what you value, what makes you feel alive. It's where you stop being a supporting actor in everyone else's story and become the main character in your own. And here's the beautiful part. When you start living from that place of wholeness, you attract different kinds of connections. Not the kind that drain you, but the kind that respect you, that see you for who you are, not what you can do for them. This is where your power lies. When you're no longer available for emotional crumbs, for mind games, for relationships that feel like a one-way street, you set a new standard. You start to demand more, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. You only say yes to what aligns with your peace, your truth, your growth. And that shift, it's magnetic. People start to notice you in a new way, not because you're loud or flashy, but because you're grounded. You're rare. You're someone who knows their worth. But let's be real. This path isn't all smooth sailing. The loneliness of the strong can feel heavy at times. You'll face moments of doubt, wondering if you're doing the right thing. You'll miss the comfort of old patterns, even the toxic ones, because they were familiar. People will call you distant, selfish, or changed, and that'll sting. But that pain is proof you're breaking free. It's the growing pains of a life where you're no longer defined by what others think of you. It's the cost of choosing yourself. So how do you stay the course? Keep practicing. Say no without guilt. Let silence be your response when words feel like a trap. Walk away from drama that doesn't serve you. And most importantly, trust that your worth isn't tied to how available you are. You don't have to be everyone's savior, therapist, or emotional punching bag. Your job is to show up for yourself first. That's what Jung meant when he said, true growth comes from making the darkness conscious. You're not just dodging other people's shadows, you're facing your own, and that's where your strength is born. If you're ready to keep going, my book, Beyond the Shadow, is a deep dive into Jung's ideas with practical tools to help you protect your energy, set boundaries, and build a life that's truly yours. The link's in the pinned comment. Check it out if you want to take this to the next level, because this isn't just about understanding, it's about living it. Now I want to hear from you. In the comments, tell me, are you ready to be misunderstood, to be called out, even to be alone if it means stepping into your own power? Are you ready to choose your peace over pleasing others? Right? I choose my peace if you're in. Let's see how many of you are ready for this shift. And don't stop here. Check out the next video. It's going to take this even further, and you don't want to miss it. See you there.